asked Renata Williams to do the U.S. and it says Barbara, I think you agreed to do the Texas pledge. So if we have Renata do the U.S. pledge, please. Hold on one sec. We're gonna.
I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt just really briefly.
Okay.
I just got an email regarding the actual link on the website. So if we can just hold for 1 second, I'm really sorry about that.
You bet. Not a problem. If there's one thing we've developed over the last year and a half, it's flexibility.
Yes. And patience.
Now, my wife might argue with that one, but I agree.
I started to say, speak for yourself, Scott.
Okay, I am not seeing the problem that was reported. It looks like the link is okay, so we can go ahead.
Okay, I will call this meeting to order at 9:05 a.m. Central. We will start with the pledges. I'm going to ask staff member Renata Williams to do the U.S. pledge and Commissioner Russell to do the Texas pledge. If y'all would stand.
Good morning, everyone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the text honor this flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, indivisible. My apologies. I left one state under God out, and I apologize.
Okay, well, now let me unmute, so that might be a good thing for y'all. Okay, let's go ahead and start. I think we have one commissioner missing. I think he's in the process of logging on. I don't know any reason to ask for excused absences at this time. We will give him a few minutes and then we'll go back and readdress that. All right, somebody did it again. Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm gonna move my mouse. I keep muting myself. Did y'all hear me on the excused absences? We're gonna wait on that.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna go and make a couple opening remarks. First of all, one day, we might start meeting in person with electricity, water, internet, but until then, we'll continue. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Until then, we'll just continue moving forward and overcoming the obstacles we face. The residents of Texas are dealing with the latest issue, and they're dealing with it with the can-do attitude that makes us true Texans and who truly makes us who we are. I want to thank the staff, the commissioners, their families for the sacrifices they've made over the last over a year, for us to be able to meet and do our business and move forward. And I know some of y'all have pipes that are leaking and people that need help, but yet you're committing your time to this agency, and I thank you for that. With everything going on, we still have a lot to get done, and we're gonna keep moving forward. A few announcements. The February meeting is the one meeting where licensees can get CE credit for attending. I think that's why it was very important to have this meeting. It's also the meeting where we elect officers, and we will elect officers. Texas Real Estate Commission and Texas A&M Research Center have an MOU. in which the commissioner chair appoints people to the writing group to update Legal 1 and Legal 2. And that will begin almost immediately. The chairman has selected Marion Napoleon, Charles Porter, and Brian Underwood as our appointees to the writing group for Legal 1, Legal 2. Staff participating will be Counsel Vanessa Burgess and Kim Mayo. I want to thank Commissioner Jan Fight for a detailed email with ideas and observations leading up to this meeting. I feel we've been engaged and informed, but do realize input from inside the agency, outside the agency is still vital for us to be more transparent and dealing with the processes that the agency does. Two things that I think the commissioners are really, wanting more information on is the budgeting process and the enforcement process and everything the enforcement division deals with. That's one of the reasons we're having the budget workshop. And I want to thank Renata Williams for putting that together. Any ideas you have, please let us know, and we will certainly do our best to make it more transparent and better for the commissioners. One prime example of this is every month for the last 2 years, or every meeting for the last 2 years, we have dealt with the legal fund, and it was brought up, give us more information on exactly, the sausage making behind, reimbursing money through the legal fund. And staff has done an extremely great job giving us information, kind of the Cliff Notes versions of what was involved in each case. And I think that's the transparency we need as a commission, and I want to thank staff for that. Lastly, I think it's important for us fulfilling our mission to protect the consumers that we take a look at the practice of wholesaling as an agency. That's our sole mission, to protect the public. And I'm looking at putting together a task force, think tank group or whatever, looking into the practice of wholesaling and what can be done, what should be done to make sure that the citizens of Texas are still protected. So if you have input, you have a passion for that, please let me know. If you just have some information input, let me know. But that is something that I really think we should look into. And so I'm putting a little group together. It will be part in the commission. It will be some individuals, anybody with a passion and ideas to help look into that. We will certainly welcome them. That's what I've got to say. But thank y'all for being here today. I know it's difficult with everything going on, but I thank you for volunteering your time. All right, we're going to recognize some departing public servants. And when I say departing public servants, agenda item number 4. These people volunteer, and I know everybody involved, whether it's in this agency or another agency or an association or whatever, you might get reimbursed for gas or meals or something, but the amount of time you spend volunteering is just incredible. And we have some members departing the Education Standards Advisory Committee, ESAC, and those members are Scott Hilton, Lori Selecki, Ruben Pena, and Mary Lou Henry. Outgoing members of the Texas Real Estate Inspector Committee are Doyle Williamson and Robert Don. Normally you would be in Austin. We would present you with a certificate, give you a round of applause. We will give you a round of applause now, and we will get the certificates in the mail. Okay, so that's where we're at now. Okay, I'm getting a text. Okay. All right. Agenda item number 5 is election of vice chair and secretary. And again, this is statute that we hold the election in February. And I guess we do secretary first? Is that what we do first?
Chair, this is Chelsea. I wanted to pause for just a minute.
Yes.
I did speak with Commissioner Leonard, who's working on his internet. He's had an internet issue this morning. If you want to do this item a little bit later in the agenda, just for all commissioners to be present, you're welcome to take this one out of order, but only if you wish to do so.
No, and I am fine with that because I do know he has some he does have some input on this. So we will go to agenda item number 6, and that is discussion and appointments to committees. And this is, and I know Chelsea and Vanessa will correct me. This is who I have on each committee. I'm going to start with Budget Committee. I believe it's Ray Ito, Commissioner Stevens, Commissioner Hargraves, and Commissioner Williams. Inspector Committee is myself. ESAC is Commissioner Wilkinson. And Commission Liaison to Broker Responsibility Working Group is Commissioner Russell. And ex officio to the Research Center is Commissioner Jan Fight Miller. Okay. Enforcement, currently we have Commissioner Leonard, Commissioner Turner, and Commissioner Jan Fight Miller. And Commissioner Stevens has shown an interest in that. Okay. Does any other commissioner have any other interest in any other of the committees? I'm sorry, Commissioner Russell had an interest in the XEO position at the A&M Advisory Committee. Okay.
And it looks like Commissioner Turner is raising his hand.
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
Commissioner Kestner, you and I spoke a while back, and I'm happy to do this for as long as I remain on the commission, but I think it might be a good idea to have a public member assist the chair on the inspector committee.
I would.
So that you're not flying solo. So if you'd welcome the help, I'd be happy to do that. Or if either of the other two public members are interested, I just think that's a good idea.
I totally agree, and I would love to have you as part of it, as long as you're able, definitely. Okay. Any other comments or suggestions?
This is Jan Miller. I'm
Yes.
happy to give my place at TREC to Barbara if she's interested in that. Happy to do that.
Okay. All right.
I'd love to be on broker responsibility. If she wants to trade, that'd be fine too.
Well, I think we can have more than one on each group. So if you would like to go to broker responsibility, I certainly don't. I don't see any issues with 2. I think when we get to 4, that's where we have an issue. Is that correct? Executive Director Buckholz?
Sure, you certainly don't want to have a quorum. So that's the baseline, and Vanessa, please speak up if you have thoughts on this. But other than that, if you want.
Right. I think two is just fine. Chelsea's right. You don't want to have a quorum. You also want to have a little bit of room in case there's someone who wants to join a meeting, a specific meeting. So 2 would work just fine.
Okay.
Scott,
Yes.
I
Yes,
would
sir.
be happy to have, my interest is only if Commissioner Miller was done with that. I have no problem trading or serving with her whatsoever.
How about
Okay.
I give it to you gladly?
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have Commissioner Russell as ex officio for the Research Center, Broker Responsibility Group. I'm going to have Commissioner Russell and Commissioner Jan Fight Miller.
Great.
Education Standards Advisory Committee, Commissioner Wilkinson. Inspector Committee, myself and Commissioner Turner. Budget, I am going to leave it as Commissioner Stevens, Commissioner Hargraves, Commissioner Williams. And on enforcement, I'm going to leave it with Commissioner Leonard, Commissioner Turner, and Commissioner Jan Fight. And if there are changes with appointments from the governor's office, Commissioner Stevens, I have you to look at enforcement. Is that okay with everybody? Anybody have any issues with those? Okay, and I hope Amber got good notes because I don't know if I can read my writing. Okay.
I think I got it.
In writing, thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Agenda item number 7. Let's start with staff and committee reports. We'll have the executive Chelsea Buckholz, deputy executive director Tony Slagle. Let's start with executive director Buckholz. Are you starting?
I'm ready. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning.
This has been a week. I don't know about you. I've hiked down a cliff a few times for firewood. I've huddled together in a house with no power. I've boiled water. I've driven icy roads to pick up family members. I've distributed food to neighbors. I've relied on the kindness of others. I prayed for the end of this crazy weather and utility disaster, and I have dreamt of spring. I'm guessing your list is unique but somewhat similar. And for the record, there's also been some snow ice cream, snowmen, sledding, and other fun. But this has been quite a week. So thank you for making this meeting happen today. Within the law, we could postpone this meeting due to an emergency for up to 72 hours. And we postponed it 71 hours. So we made it by the hair of our chinny chin chin.
Chelsea?
It was a bit. It sounds like we have Commissioner Leonard.
Chelsea, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
This is Bob. I can't see myself, but my internet is down, and I finally logged in with my hotspot on my phone. So that took a minute. Anyway, just wanted to let y'all know I'm here.
Fantastic. Okay, welcome.
Executive Director Buckholz, if you, we have some commissioners that are needing to might not be able to stay on. They would like to go back one agenda item, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
We will go back.
Someone has an echo. It's an echo again.
And we'll go back to agenda item number 5, election of vice chair and secretary. And I will take nominations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before elections are submitted to the commission, I would like just to remind everyone, and especially for the last slate of commissioners who were appointed by the governor, that anyone sitting as commissioners at this time is eligible to be elected as any of the officers for the duration that each of us may be appointed. So that includes the commissioners that could likely be all departing, which include Commissioner Turner, Commissioner Leonard, and myself. I just wanted to remind everyone, if in the event that somebody serves for the duration, like say if the governor appoints a new slate of commissioners tomorrow, well, then we serve until the day that we are replaced. And at that time, there's a new election. It's a special election that is brought into the commission. So this is all I just wanted to bring up to the commissioners who may not have been present when this was, when some of these occurrences happened at the commission. Thank you.
I think I've lost Commissioner Stevens. What I did hear was anybody currently serving is welcome to stay on. The appointments might be made tomorrow. They might be made in 6-7 months. We don't know. But if you are currently serving, you are welcome to stay on and be reelected to your position. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, Chairman Kessner, and that if, for instance, if Commissioner Turner was reelected to be secretary, and if he chooses not to be reappointed, or if he was not to be, or any of the 3 likely departing commissioners, they serve until the day that they are replaced. And then at that point, there's a special election. I hope that you're able to hear me. I'm not sure what you can hear and you cannot. Thank you.
Commissioner Stevens, I could hear you. It sounds like Chair Kestner is actually having an issue where he is not able to hear anything. So one sec.
May I ask then if Bob and TJ want to be in there, do they want to be left in that position? We ought to start there, maybe.
Commissioner Miller, I have no preference. I'm more than happy to step aside and let somebody else take on this role. I have not applied for reappointment to the commission. So I think I'm probably pretty short-lived. In fact, I think they have somebody in mind at the governor's office to take my spot. So, but on the other hand, I'm happy to continue in this capacity until that happens. So if that's the pleasure of the commission, I'm happy to, but I'm also, turnover is important, and it's important for everyone to have a chance to have leadership roles that are interested in doing so. I know that Commissioner Leonard has applied for reappointment, and I would absolutely support him in remaining in his position to do that. I think I'm a little bit different because I haven't applied for reappointment. Commissioner Stevens, I appreciate you pointing out that it is okay for folks to stay in their spot. So I was rambling a little bit, but I think I see a distinction between Bob and myself.
Commissioner Turner, thank you for that. And I will say it's been my honor to serve on the commission. I have applied for reappointment. Of course, none of that has come through. I would be honored to continue to serve in whatever capacity the rest of the commission is comfortable with. And if I am fortunate enough and have the honor to be reelected vice chair, and if I didn't get reappointed, rest assured that it would be a peaceful transition of power at the White House. And the worst thing is you would have to call a special election at some point. So. But thank you. TJ.
Commissioner Wilkinson here. I have a question.
Okay.
What would be the process, or is this allowed, knowing that Commissioner Thomas has not reapplied, and we don't know this, what will happen with the governor? I'm sure this is not the highest thing on his priority now, but what would be the process of us perhaps nominating people to step into those roles and have those already taken care of in case there is not a reappointment or the termination happens since Commissioner Thomas has not reapplied?
I don't know if we can do that. General Counsel Burgess, what do you think? And I just got on, so I missed some conversation coming up to this. I'll apologize.
And I will apologize because I missed that question because I am getting a lot of messages about the live stream.
Okay.
One of the things that I don't know if you can hear me, Commissioner Kestner, when we lost power, I mentioned that any one of the sitting commissioners who continues serving until the day that each of us is replaced, that then all that happens is just a special election to be able to get a new person elected. Now, I am confused at this time because I thought that we were originally solely speaking about the secretary position. So, and right now we have, TJ has suggested that Commissioner Leonard continues as vice chair. So I think he's endorsing him. And at this point, what I like to do is, in answer to Commissioner Miller's question, I have never been asked to serve in any position, not even as chair of any of the committees since the time that I have served. And this could be my very last meeting. I really thought that the last time that we served on the commission meeting, it would be my last, and I would like to be considered for the position of vice chair. Commissioner Leonard has served, we all have served with pride and with honor. And I think during the entire duration, I have never served in any other capacity, and I'd like to be considered for that position at this time.
I would second that. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yes. So I've got nomination for Commissioner Stevens to vice chair. Okay. While I was out, did we do anything with the secretary?
No, sir.
We did not, but I would like to nominate myself.
Okay. Commissioner, so we have Commissioner Hargraves for secretary.
I second Commissioner Hargraves for secretary.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Miller, Jan Fight Miller, for secretary.
I will second that.
Okay, and who was the second? Was that Commissioner Leonard?
It was me, Bob.
Okay. All right. So we have two nominees for vice chair, Commissioner Stevens and Commissioner Leonard. Correct. And we have two nominees for secretary, Commissioner Hargraves and Commissioner Miller. Is that correct?
That's what, Mr. Chair, that's what my notes share.
Okay. All right. All right. So, and everybody understands if we do the elections today and somebody is not appointed or reappointed, then we have a special election to replace that position. Is everybody good with that? Everybody understands that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does it matter which one we do first?
It does not.
Okay. Let's go with secretary first. Okay. And is Amber going to poll the commissioners? How will we do it now that we're part internet, part phone, part smoke signal? How are we going to do that? Okay.
So we can do a roll call.
Okay.
Certainly. And Amber, do you want to do the roll call or do you want me to do it? I don't know what your connection is.
I can do it. So do we want to do the votes for Commissioner Hargraves for secretary first?
Or as you call each person, you can ask for their vote, either Commissioner Miller or Commissioner Hargraves.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to go down the list here. Chair Kestner.
Do I vote?
Yes.
Okay. Miller.
Okay. Commissioner Leonard.
Commissioner Miller.
Commissioner Turner.
Hargraves.
Okay. Commissioner Hargraves.
Hargraves.
Commissioner Miller.
Stevens.
Stevens.
The Commissioner Miller, we're voting on the secretary, either Hargraves or yourself.
I'm sorry, I thought Rayito was also in that group. And I'm gonna say Miller.
Commissioner Stevens,
Hargrave.
Commissioner Russell,
Miller.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Miller.
Commissioner Williams.
Hartgrave.
Okay, I show 5 votes for Miller and 4 for Hartgraves.
Okay, we will go to chair, vice chair.
Can I interrupt
Commissioner.
briefly, just for record keeping purposes?
Yes.
So we had a nomination for Stevens and for Leonard. Is that right on this one?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I had.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think, just to be clear, I was just discussing the possibility for the 3 commissioners whose terms are up. I was agreeing with Commissioner Stevens that we could be elected to positions if we chose to hold ourselves out for that. I did not formally nominate Commissioner Leonard for vice chair, nor was there a second. So just to follow procedure, I will nominate him now and seek a second.
Second.
Well, I believe that on the executive committee there should be at least one public member, and so since that didn't happen on secretary, then I would nominate Commissioner Williams for vice chair.
I don't know
Commissioner
that.
Williams?
I don't know that the position of vice chair, sorry, Commissioner Kestner, may I have?
Yes.
I'm not sure that the position of vice chair, we'll have to look at that and see.
It can be anyone.
If it could be, if it has to be a broker.
It does not.
That I am not aware of.
Okay.
Chelsea, are you
I'm here.
wanting to say something?
Oh, no. Well, I keep holding back. I have nothing that needs saying.
Okay. So we have 3 nominees. Did we have a second for Commissioner Williams?
No.
No second. Let me speak, Chair.
Okay.
With me owning a small business, I sit on 3 other boards, and me serving our state is something that I'm proud of. And to be head of the budget committee, we all know that that is a challenge in it of itself. And so I would like to take my name off of that. I really appreciate the nomination, but I would gladly take my name off of that opportunity at this point.
Okay. All right. So we have 2 nominees, Commissioner Leonard and Commissioner Stevens.
Okay, shall I go down the list now?
Yes.
Okay. Chair Kestner,
Leonard.
Commissioner Leonard,
Leonard.
Commissioner Turner,
Sorry, I had to unmute. Leonard.
Commissioner Hartgraves,
Stevens.
Commissioner Miller,
Leonard.
Commissioner Stevens,
Stevens,
Commissioner Russell,
Leonard,
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Leonard,
Commissioner Williams.
Stevens.
Okay, I show 6 in favor of Commissioner Leonard for Vice Chair.
Okay. All right. And like I say, once the appointments happen, when they happen, if they happen, then we will have a special election for anybody that is no longer seated as a commissioner. So I show Secretary Commissioner Jan Fight Miller and Vice Chair Commissioner Bob Leonard. Okay. Executive Director Buckholz, let's go back to your report on agenda item number 7.
Yes, sir. Okay. Congratulations to new officers or reappointed officers. Okay, so it was messy to get to today. Thank you for responding to text messages and helping coordinate the postponement of this meeting twice. I'm grateful that we are able to do it today. It does come at a cost, I know, for you and for staff, and I'm appreciative of your efforts to make it work. I know many of our staff continue to be primarily without water, melting snow to meet basic needs, and it feels a little bit dire around here, but it seems with each passing day, it gets better. We are liberally granting leave to those who need to address these issues, and in fact, the office is officially closed today, and we expect to reopen on Monday. There have been whole state office buildings that have been flooded, not ours. And water mains downtown that have kept anyone from going, that have kept people from going downtown, and really just general utility issues that's kept people from working and instead focused on meeting basic needs. So thank you for your flexibility and your patience, both with remote meetings for the last year and specifically today. As for remote working, we continue to operate mostly remote, but for this week. We continue to press the mail twice a week, the funding that comes in the mail. So a few are in the office regularly for those functions, and a few other functions like onboarding new employees and seeking physical files, that sort of thing. We have had a few reported COVID cases in the office, and that includes the exposure to other staff. And so we're trying to limit those as much as possible and taking a very conservative approach there. I am ready to sit around a table and see the whites of actual eyes. I know that's true for many of you. I noticed that we are losing some by continuing to be remote. It is much harder to collaborate and be innovative using our current system, and so we are anxious to come back to the office. I'm hopeful that by the next time this body meets, that will be the case. I wanted to mention the legislative session. This is the most unique session I've ever experienced. We don't have any ability to visit offices at the Capitol, to build meaningful relationships, to tell our story in any sort of true engaging way. So for that reason, progress is very limited in terms of any sort of legislative initiative. This is a good session for that because we have nothing on our legislative initiative list that just must be done now. There are some would be nice, but nothing dire. We had such a substantial legislative session the last time, much was done, that this time we sit primarily in a responsive mode. This just looks and feels very different than what we've experienced in the past, but we continue to be very engaged. We have regular check-ins with our stakeholder groups. We're monitoring several bills. I know Tony sent you a list of those last week. We're providing feedback to members of the legislature, doing remote meetings with them. We're remaining very active in that process. I mentioned this to you in a report earlier, but I wanted to just make note of it today that your budget materials look different than they have in the past. It's my hope that they are more digestible than they have been before. I've said it on multiple occasions that as we spend down our reserves, as directed by the Sunset Review, we must ensure that we're living within our means. And I think you'll see from the materials that we are accomplishing that, which is a huge accomplishment. A few other things to note, and then I will be quiet. We continue to receive inquiries on the pending contract form changes. This will be before you later today, and of course, has been before you in the last 2 meetings, I believe. These are highly anticipated by the real estate and the title industry. We've worked to address questions in collaboration with Texas Realtors and TLTA to ensure that all are fully equipped to be ready for these changes. We just published an FAQ document related primarily to the option fee change on our website, and have some upcoming education planned on that. What else is happening? We have just completed the February 1st contracts requirement for CE. So starting February 1st, as you know, we required 3 hours of contracts to be included in CE renewals. And that has gone smoothly for the most part. Additionally, changes to inspector education start March 1st and continue through June. So we look forward to that transition, and I know you have been involved in all of that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have on any of these items or anything else, but I look forward to the remainder of the meeting today.
Any questions for Executive Director Buckholz? Okay. Believe Deputy Executive Director Tony Slagle will be next.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. This is Tony Slagle, Deputy Executive Director. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. I will be very short. I did send out a January customer service update, as I do every month, showing how we're doing. Also included in that email was data on how we've progressed over the last 3 years. I think you should be happy with those numbers. We've gone in the right direction, which is great. I just wanted to update you all to let you know that we are averaging for this month, although we've been closed this week, we've been averaging about a 50-second hold time and an abandonment rate just above 2%. Prior to shutting down because of the weather, we were averaging anywhere from 1,100 to 900 calls a day. So, fairly steady call volume. Imagine once we get up and running again on Monday, there'll probably be an increase to the extent that people can dial in. I know that our customer service staff working remotely may not be at 100%, just so all of you know, just because they're dealing with their own issues at home, and including outages and internet issues as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have on any of the stuff that I've provided previously.
Any questions for Deputy Director Slagle?
No question, but I would like to say, Tony, thank you for continuing to hold that wait time down to a minimum level, and please pass that along to Robert.
I'll do that. You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
And Tony, I'd like to add the return email at 99% is extremely refreshing to see. I did a report yesterday, and I looked back at last January and February of 20, we were like at 82 and 84% return. So I think getting up to 99% is incredible. That's like making up for a really bad grade when you have those two numbers. So not only on the phone wait time and hold time and drop calls, but also the email. You are doing an outstanding job, and just keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Amen to that.
Okay, I'm going to go to Jen. Yes.
Pardon me,
Commissioner Turner.
Mr. Machos, would you mind turning your camera off until we have the contested case agenda item later? Because I'm not seeing all my commissioners, but there we go. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And y'all watch that, because I am on the phone and see nobody. So, okay. I'm going to go to agenda item number 8, a report on the executive committee. And let me find my place. executive committee met twice. The first one was on December the 10th. The minutes are part of your packet. I just want to go over a couple things. Talked about just meeting remotely. We also did 2 virtual meetings as a commission. One was a town hall to provide staff with an update on the commission meeting and agency news. The second was set up by the marketing department, Christine Anderson, coffee with commissioner, and myself and Christine were there, and Executive Director Buckholz. We had over 200 people log into that. I thought it was a great way for us to do reach out to not only our licensees, but shareholders. I think we had some people from the title industry there also. Talked about Deputy General Counsel Abby Lee presented a draft version of a rule so the person, a member of the public interested in rulemaking could submit something to the agency, and that is actually part of this month's meeting agenda item number 21. And then we talked about trying to combine a hybrid meeting with remote, and Director of IT, Steve Rapp, looked into that. I also met on January the 13th. We talked about the new consumer notice needing to be posted by February 1st. I want to give kudos to staff. If you are one of those businesses like ours where there is a link on your website, on February 1st, when they clicked that link, it went to the new consumer notice. So that certainly saved our licensees and the people we regulate some time and energy as far as getting that done. Executive Director Tony Slagle, Deputy Executive Tony Slagle, gave us an update on current bills that we're going through. And then we talked about the staff looking at the recovery fund claims. We get a lot of claims in that do not meet the criteria. Staff vets those, and we talked about staff continuing to vet those and giving the commissioners a draft report on what transpired there. Okay. We also talked about how we think we need more information and a better understanding of the enforcement process and the enforcement committee and the background checks and FBI checks and fitness determinations and everything like that. And I think that's something that we will put in a future workshop. And so that's my executive report. I'll be glad to answer any questions. The minutes are there. And like I say, some of the things we discussed will be later agenda items. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. I will go to agenda item number 9, report on the Education Standards Advisory Committee. Chair Keela Youngblood was unable to join us today, but I believe Tony Slagle is going to give us an update, correct?
I'm going to give the update for the inspector. I don't believe I was going to give the ESAC
right.
one.
Well, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I can't. I messed up my notes. Okay. Chair Keela Youngblood for ESAC could not be here today. I want to add there is a link in your meeting material to the meeting on TREC's website. Also on the website, when you open the meeting, if there's a specific agenda item you want to listen to and not listen to the entire 3-hour meeting, you can click on that one agenda item and it will fast forward the tape to where it's at. So if you want a little bit more information on it, we can certainly, work on that, but you can go to specific agenda items on those tapes, okay? They did elect officers, and again, they're really working hard on some different education, along with, broker responsibility, legal 1, legal 2, that's coming up, and so they're doing a great job. But you can listen to that tape if you would like. Okay, now let's go to Tony Slagle for an update on the Inspectors Committee.
Chair Kestner, this is Vanessa Burgess. I just to interject very quickly, if everyone can refrain from using the chat function in Teams, that way we stay abreast of what everyone has in terms of open meetings requirements. That would be really helpful. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Miller. Chairman, I have a couple of questions. Back to the executive minutes for December. It's mentioned in number 9 that they're supposed to be work done by the executive, by the enforcement committee, but no, I never got that information, and I'm on that committee. Was a meeting called, or who's in charge of calling those meetings?
You're talking about on December 10th, number 9?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think that was scheduled for the next enforcement committee. It's a regular meeting. I don't think there was a special meeting called for that. Is that correct? Vanessa or
But we
Chelsea?
don't have regular meetings.
Okay, then.
Right, so those are called really in coordination with the chair of the committee, who right now is Commissioner Turner. I believe in Commissioner Turner, please tell me if this is wrong, that we had some discussion about having a meeting between this commission meeting and the following. And the specific, oh yes, what did I say something different?
No, just making sure I'm caught up.
Yes, to have an enforcement meeting between this meeting and the following to address what was raised, which is to relook at the criminal history. Is that your recollection?
That is my recollection, and I'd like to take the opportunity now, if it pleases the chair, to poll the commissioners. We have, as the enforcement committee, and I think as a commission, although not with this exact makeup, have looked at what list of criminal offenses we consider to be relevant to the holding of a real estate license in Texas. We've looked at that previously. I'm absolutely open to looking at it again, but I would like to know how many of us want to look at that again, or how many of us are content with status quo as far as what criminal offenses we look at. I do know that the governor is trying to remove barriers to entry to licensed professions, and I think that's a noble cause. So again, I'm open to this, but I don't want to spin our wheels and have a meeting just to talk about this again if there's no point. So is that appropriate, Chelsea, for me to do an informal poll here, or take some statements from the commissioners as to whether or not they're interested in looking at this?
Sure, gauging interest on making additional changes is fine, and then there's also the variable of reviewing the timetable. So if there is a crime that is considered relevant to a license, but it was 20 years ago, should that not be considered, whereas something 10 years ago maybe should? So just the amount of time it takes. So yeah, just hearing from folks on their interest on addressing that issue again would be good.
I totally agree.
Feelings on this?
No, I totally agree that I think the enforcement committee should meet, and I think maybe we should even look at some set regular meetings instead of just when we think we need to. But I think the offenses need to be looked at. I think the last time we looked at those might have been, March of or February when I came on the commission 2 years ago. So I think it can definitely be readdressed, and I would certainly like to the enforcement committee to meet and get a meeting set to look at that, and also look at how you can inform the other commissioners on exactly what enforcement's doing, like we've talked about.
Okay.
I just see the state overall relaxing, as TJ mentioned. The governor has expressly asked for that, but I also see what's happening in our industry, and we've got a bunch of bad actors who are licensed, and yet the commission may never hear about it, or the commission may never look at them again as long as they didn't commit a felony. And I watch our industry thinking that we police ourselves, and we don't. So, and I see various things coming out of the commission. do you let this guy in or do you let that guy in? And I've just watched it since I've served as a commissioner, and it doesn't seem consistent always. I know they try. I know they try, but it doesn't seem like it stays that way. And I've never seen a list of what's acceptable. Drug charges when they're 19, arson. Arson was the only one I ever heard was always denied, but that's just what I know.
Can I have a
TJ, as
consensus
long
that we
as long as you're
schedule a meeting?
taking a poll, like I'll weigh in and say, yes, we need to take a look at that.
All right. Enforcement committee will call a meeting prior to our next quarterly TREC meeting, and we will be discussing taking a look at what criminal offenses and what age of criminal offenses are considered in the application and retention of real estate license.
And how consistent we should be.
Exactly. Okay, so I have
if any of you have any want to look over the list and send me suggestions or feelings. In fact, Vanessa, would you please make a note to circulate that list among the commissioners? And then if you all want to send me an email with your thoughts on, I would really appreciate input from the entire commission prior to our meeting, rather than us coming with recommendations afterward, if that's okay.
What I can do is coordinate that. I'll coordinate the messaging and everything along those lines and how to respond appropriately.
Thank you very much.
I have a question to Commissioner Turner. Does the list include the suggested number of years? Can you give us a little bit of information just so that when the list is circulated, the commissions can actually make their comments? And I know that we're trying to be efficient with time. So can you give us a little information about what's on that list?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I just asked Vanessa to do, and I think she said she'd be happy to do that.
That's right. We'll put it all together and really lay it out clearly what we're looking for and all that information. So I'll make sure it's all in there.
Commissioner Williams, could you also give us a timeline to respond? I think it'll work better for all of the commissioners if we, I know for me, I work on deadlines because the chair, I think, asked, maybe it was one of the other commissioners said they would like to have a response from all the commissioners. So when you send out those items, please put deadlines for everyone to respond.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do a timeline and we'll base it on when they meet to give them the enforcement committee to give them enough time, everything like that. So we'll take care of that. That's a good idea. Thank you.
And one other thing, I'm sorry, on the executive committee minutes, I'd really like to know personally, like the number of personnel and how many have left, how many have been hired, and that sort of thing. The minutes didn't show specific numbers, and I really think that we ought to watch that.
Commissioner Miller, I'm happy to speak to that. Two things. Number one, I received your comment about wanting to know what positions are available, and I've just asked our HR director, Tawana Hood, to include all commissioners on an email she sends out notifying the agency of open positions, job postings. So we will include you on that just so that you're aware and you can pass the word for open positions that we're in the middle of hiring. I give a report to the executive committee just on where we are from a personnel perspective, and I'll tell you where we normally are, and that is we hover around 135 filled positions. And that means that we run about 10 unfilled positions at a time. And that changes based on a number of variables: time of year, availability of. I mean, just we expect to have open positions. It helps with our budget, and we'll just never be 100% filled. I watch that closely just because we very rarely are at 140 or higher, and I think that that's, for some reason in my head, that's kind of a milestone, and I just want to know where we are in that. So right now we have 135 filled positions, 135 humans, and that's pretty normal. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you. I just, when I first got on the commission, they couldn't hire anybody to fill call center positions, and yet Robert Hood has done a fantastic job in doing that and reducing the hold time and that sort of thing. And I know a lot of stuff has changed since then, but I just think it's a good idea for the board, the commission, to know about that.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I always look for anomalies in that. Like, is there one division that has an inordinate number of openings? And I can tell you that right now it's a smattering from across divisions and looks very what I would call normal. And we do have 2 open attorney positions in enforcement that we're working to fill. That's a high priority for us right now because we want to make sure that our enforcement turn times are efficient, but that's really the only that's the position right now that I'm focusing on the most.
That's great, and thank you.
Commissioner Miller, I appreciate the input and the questions. Again, anything we can do to make it more transparent and more informative, that's what we will do. Okay, let's go to the Inspector Committee agenda item number 10.
Yes, sir. This is Tony Slagle, Deputy Executive Director. I will make this very short. A link was provided to the Inspector Committee meeting minutes from the January meeting in your materials. So I'm happy to answer any questions that arose from your review of that. I just wanted to touch on a few things. One of the things they did do was to elect their officers for the upcoming year. Lee Warren was retained as chair, Sean Emmerich was retained as vice chair, and Steve Reinhardt was retained as secretary. As Executive Director Chelsea Buckles mentioned in her report earlier that as of March 1st, the education requirements for inspectors will change based on a lot of hard work from the committee and staff to update those based on sunset recommendations. In speaking with the division director of the education division, there are plenty of options available for any students that enroll after that March 1st deadline, and there are more in the hopper waiting to be approved as well. There are 2 items before you today, one a proposed adoption, and one a proposed proposal. I'm happy to answer any questions on those as they come up as well. One last item is the committee continues to work on updating the SOPs for inspectors. That will likely have an impact on the report form as well. They're fairly close. I don't know if there'll be anything before you in the May meeting, but it could be that early. It will likely at the earliest be in the August meeting though, just for your review and the proposal for those new standards of practice rules. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Slagle? I will tell you, we just put in a new dryer at one of our rentals, and I certainly looked at that plug a whole lot differently after the inspector's meeting.
I bet.
Okay, agenda item number 11. I believe we had one person sign up for public comments. Is that correct?
We do not have anyone signed up for public comment under this item at this time.
All right, very good. We will go to agenda item number 12, and that is contested cases. And I believe we do have Michael Malloy. He will introduce the case, and then I believe we do have someone on this agenda item, correct?
On this agenda item, for this case, we just have Mr. Malloy.
Okay, very good. All right. Director of Enforcement, Michael Malloy.
Good morning. This is consideration and possible action regarding proposal for decision of matter. So a docket 329-20-0455.REC TREC versus Tiffany L. Purvis. The staff recommends just adoption of the PFD. I stand by for any questions you may have. It's a mostly straightforward case. We did ask for other punishment, but we feel this is a sufficient in regards to what we got from the ALJ.
Any questions for Mr. Malloy on this one, this particular one?
I have one, please. Could you explain that the staff is recommending a administrative penalty of $4,500 and the ALJ recommended $1,500. Can you explain the discrepancy?
Well, they basically, when we evaluate and we go to when we go to a hearing, we don't usually use the minimum amount of administrative penalty assessed. And also in this situation, when we were seeking the $4,500, that also took into account 2 other violations that they found we didn't prove sufficiently. So that's why there's a lower amount that the ALJ recommended.
Okay, other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I have one question that maybe if it's a question or I'm just thinking out loud. The problem I have with this case is not so much the money involved, but the time that she took to repay the money. Mike, could you speak to that?
Actually, I have the staff attorney that handled that case, so I think he may be in a better position to answer that. Tony Renteria.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner Leonard. Commissioners, Tony Renteria, staff attorney. I was assigned to this case. And that was one of our concerns is that the complainant in this case filed a complaint and alleged that there had been a request for payment of this promised commission amount. After the title company closed, the license holder was overpaid about $7,500 as stated in the PFD. And there was a delay of 9 months to repay the amount. We did address it with the judge. The judge in the PFD said that he took into consideration, I guess, her attempts to consult other attorneys. That was her testimony, that she consulted. She never denied owing the money, but she never repaid it. Ultimately, the judge did find that we proved that violation, but I guess he must have considered her testimony as well. And I think in coming to that determination, he came up with the recommended penalty.
All right. Any other questions? I've got one. If no other commissioners have a question.
I have one, please, sir.
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
Staff, did we file exceptions to this proposal for decision?
We did not file exceptions in this case.
Okay. Any other questions for Tony Renteria? I've got one, and I'm in real estate every day.
I think Barbara raised her hand.
Yes. Who had a question?
Barbara, I think you need to unmute.
I believe I am.
Would you explain what filing an exception means?
Sure. When the case is decided by the judge, both parties, the respondent and the commission, have an opportunity to file exceptions to inform the judge or at least argue that we believe the judge committed an error of some sort, and that is our opportunity to address it via filing. It has to be done within 15 days after the decision is rendered. At this, after the decision came down, we did not believe that there were any errors. Certainly, the judge considered the testimony at the hearing. The respondent did not file any exceptions either. So we discussed the matter. We decided that we were going to recommend adoption of the PFD.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Renteria.
Yes.
Any other questions from the commissioners? I've got a couple. Miss Purvis, she was the brokerage involved, correct?
Yes.
Okay, she was not an agent working for another broker. She was the brokerage.
That is correct.
Okay. Was it ever made clear to her that since the seller was a principal, that getting money back to a principal should not be that difficult, correct?
That is correct.
I find where she said she talked to the real estate commission, the realtors, and her attorney, and nobody could give her the processes for getting that refunded. I found that hard to read, I'll be honest with you.
There is yeah, the problem is that this is what she's saying that she believed. I think the judge in his decision does mention that part of her excuses, he did not find those believable. I think part of and I'm only referring to the PFD, that's all we can really refer to. But part of the testimony is that she, excuse me, that she sought counsel from individuals, TAR, attorneys, and this is a previous attorney that had represented her, and that based on that, she believed that if she repaid directly, that she would get in trouble. Of course, we disagreed, and we argued our case to the judge. The judge, I think, agreed with us in that she was making excuses. She was ultimately responsible. She's the broker. She's responsible for the brokerage, not her employees. She needs to make sure that she does her job in being competently representing her client. This case had some difficulties because the complainant who initially filed the complaint, after the complainant was repaid, the complainant no longer responded to our request for cooperation. So you have to keep in mind that we argued our case based on the evidence that we had. So that's what we presented.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Renteria on this first one? All right, let's move to the second one. Mr. Malloy, are you ready for docket TREC versus Reynoso?
Yes. With consideration of possible action regarding proposal for decision for matter of SOA docket number 329-20-1699.REC TREC versus Angelica Reynoso. This was a background history license holder issue. Ms. Reynoso pled guilty to a felony offense of theft. The ALJ in seeking, we only have one violation we were seeking in this matter to revoke her. There's no administrative penalty. The ALJ felt we met our burden of proof and agreed with the recommendation to revoke Ms. Reynoso. There were exceptions filed. The ALJ responded and found no merit to those, but the ALJ did have a typographical error in the original PFD and did change that typographical error. It had something to do with the offense and outlining the actual correct offense that she was charged with, or that she pled guilty with.
Okay.
So we moved to adopt this PFD with that that typographical change that the ALJ corrected.
I've got questions that I would like to ask, please.
Chair Kestner.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. This is Richard Makis. I'm the broker for Angelica Reynoso.
Mr. Machos,
Yes.
can I interrupt you just for a second? Traditionally, and I think it's just a little bit harder when we're virtual to get everyone on board, we traditionally will pass the gavel to Commissioner Turner on this as head of the Enforcement Committee, I believe. So in order to do that, I'll just interrupt here. I know that, so we can go ahead and get the process done, because I know that we have people wanting to speak like yourself on this matter.
And Angelica would like to speak as well.
So I don't get to speak before a decision is made, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. There's some mistakes in your document on the document that you just sent out. There's 154 pages. There are mistakes in it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yes.
pass the gavel to Commissioner Turner for this part of the meeting.
Okay. So we've heard from staff. So traditionally, Mr. Makos, I understand you're here. I apologize for not pronouncing your name correctly earlier. And I also understand the respondent, Ms. Reynoso, you're with us as well?
Yes, I am, and I'd like to speak as well.
Of course. And so what we do is I'm going to provide you each with 3 minutes. So whoever wants to go first, Mr. Makos, would you like to go first, or Ms. Reynoso, would you prefer to go first?
Richard, go ahead.
Okay. All right. First of all, on page 76 of your document, it says a felony offense theft of 200,000 or more, but less than 100. That was not the case.
Yes, sir. That's been corrected by the administrative law judge to read 20,000 to 100,000.
Right. Okay. And then I just, we sent a letter. You said that she's guilty. We have a letter, and it was sent to Amber. That's what, just this morning. And it says, it's from her probation officer, and it says she is not guilty. And I don't think that this got submitted either to SOAH or TREC. Somehow it didn't get submitted, but it clearly states that she is not guilty.
Vanessa, what can we consider that's outside the record?
You can only consider what is in the record.
Okay.
So if that was not part of the record, which it sounds like it's not, then you cannot consider it at this time.
So what is the escalation process?
I'm sorry?
What is the escalation process after today?
You may appeal this decision once it becomes final. Ms. Reynoso may appeal the decision to the Travis County District Court.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's an opportunity for Ms. Reynoso to file some sort of motion for a new trial or rehearing at SOA, but that's something that she should talk to her counsel about.
When you say counsel, you mean my lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'd like to do this on my own. I'm $20,000 in the hole for something that wasn't going to be guaranteed, so I won't be seeking counsel. I'd like to do this on my own.
Okay, well, that's fine. There was a lawyer that responded to the proposal for a decision, was provided in our materials. So I didn't know if you were still represented by that counsel or not. It's certainly not appropriate for me to provide you legal advice today on what your options are with regard to the proposal for a decision from the SOA judge. So that's my suggestion to you, that you rely on your counsel for that. Was just that. It was Mr. Kelly, it looks like. If he's no longer representing you, then that's fine, but.
So are you talking about filing an exception through the SOAH?
Can I interrupt?
Please.
Actual procedure here is after there is a decision made by the commission today, They will have a certain amount of days to file a motion for rehearing. That will go back either to the commission or the enforcement committee to determine. Usually it's the enforcement committee that's been making that decision for motions for rehearing. After that, then they have, if they deny, if the enforcement committee would deny or whatever their determination is, if they do deny, then the next step would be appealing the decision to district court in Travis County.
And how many days do we have to file that with the?
When the final order goes out, we provide the rule that you can refer to in our letter, in our closing letter to you.
Okay. Do you guys? I have a little bit of a question here. You know, there has been like 2 or 3 certified return requested receipt letters, and we have never gotten them. Never. Why is that?
These were letters from TREC?
Yes, from TREC regarding Angelica. And this goes back, you know, when this all first started, and just the most recent one too. You guys send certified requested letters. The attorney gets them. I never got one. It's very easy. And I've told this to, you know, of course, Sarah Decker, you know, she never wants to talk to us when you have an attorney. You know, it's not right to document this, that you guys send certified letters and we never get them. And you can go in and plug in, and I've told her this, you can go in and plug in the certified request letter number, and it says in transit. Somewhere in Austin, still in Austin.
Well, we send out our stuff, certified mail, regular mail, and email. We have to send that to the attorney because he is the one that was representing Ms. Reynoso in that matter.
No, I didn't.
That's where our legal obligation is.
So there is not sending them out correctly because we never got any of them. And I have the proof. Who do I need to send that to get this, you know, straightened out? I'm not very happy about that.
We're all here, so you did get some sort of notification. We do attempt it. Signing the green card is not legally required under our rules.
No, but if you go in and check the actual certified number.
I don't know how this.
Yeah, it states that it has never been received. It's never been received. It never got here.
I don't know what you're referring to. Received.
Well, received. If you go in any certified letter, you go to the USPS website and you can program it in. And we've done this for the attorney. He received his. I mean, this is not rocket science, Michael.
Okay.
I don't know what document
you understand what I'm saying? I don't think you're
talking about the PFD, sir.
Mr. Makos, are there particular letters that our staff has sent you that relate to the proposal for decision that?
All of them. Every letter that you guys sent, I've never gotten any by certified. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Have you received our communications otherwise by regular mail or email?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Ms. Reynoso, do you have any comments for us today as we consider this proposal for decision?
I do. I think you guys, I heard you guys talking about relooking at people's background checks. The only things that you guys looked at what was on paper. I think what you guys need to consider, not only for myself, but for other people, is what is their background. I am 51 years old. I have never in my life had a record. That should speak for something. I'm a single mom raising 2 kids, who went through college, who has a bachelor's and is working on her master's by myself with no help. Got a 7-year-old. I'm going through the same process. None of that was looked at. What was my situation when I was married? What was going on for me to have to apply as a single mom for a sick child for 2 years who was in the emergency room in and out? What was I supposed to do? I would do it all over again, exactly what I did for my child who was sick, who needed therapy. I'm paying back $23,000. Why isn't that taken into consideration? My life was not taken into consideration. What you guys looked at, what was on paper only, not my life, not what I went through, not how I got there, but what was on paper. You guys never asked me, how did you get there? What happened? You never asked. What you guys looked at, what was on paper only, and that was not right.
Ms. Malloy, you were given the opportunity to testify at the
Nobody
SOA.
asked me to testify. Like I said, I'm $20,000 in the hole for something that was not guaranteed to me, for someone who didn't do their job. Instead of paying that lawyer $20,000, I had a choice to pay back that money, $23,000, and never have a felony on my record. If I would have known this was going to happen, I would have asked my father for the money. I would have asked my friend. I would have asked whoever I could to pay back that money, and this would never be on my record. I had that choice, but I didn't have the money to do it. I am in debt. My credit cards are maxed out because this is what I did. I paid a lawyer to do this for me. Now, if I would have known that, I'd rather be in debt to the government. If you look at what I've paid, I'm ahead. I'm paying $5,000 at a time. I'm not one of those high-priced realtors that sells high-end. I deal only with the Latin community, not by choice. That's just what comes to me. I don't look for business. Everything is referred, and I don't do my clients wrong. I educate them. I help them because there are realtors out there, like one of your commissioners said, the bad apples. I am not one of them. So I feel like you should have took my background into consideration. You should have took my age into consideration. Where did I come from? What have I done in my life? I'm 51 and I don't have a criminal background except for this. There's got to be a reason that happened. You guys never asked. Sarah never asked me any questions, never. And she should have.
I'm sorry, was Sarah our investigating attorney, Michael?
Sarah Decker, yes. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Not once did she ask me any questions, and that was wrong on her part.
In fact, she was very accusatory on the initial phone call, saying that Angelica did not give her, did not notify TREC within the 30 days. And we have an email, and all this was documented. There's an email on November the 4th where she got notified TREC on October 28th on a phone call to TREC. And her license wasn't up until September 30th for renewal. So she did it within the time frame, and Sarah Decker accused her of being guilty on the phone call and then changed her story. I think it was Sarah, wasn't it?
Mr. Makos, hang on a second, please. We've heard from you already.
Well, no, I haven't used up my whole 3 minutes. I have a lot more to say, so I will continue after this, okay?
I beg your pardon, sir. I'm presiding over this meeting, and you had plenty of time. You've had a sufficient amount of time. You have spoke for over 3 minutes. We're going on 9 minutes on this topic so far. I don't believe, Mr. Malloy, I didn't see anything in the proposal for a decision regarding a failure to report. Was that one of the?
That was not one of the violations that were seeked.
Okay, so Mr. Makos, that's not at issue.
Okay, let me tell you my first phone call with Sarah Decker. I mean, I hear you say 9 minutes. This is 9 minutes of my life. That's nothing, okay?
Ms. Reynosa, pardon me. I agree with you, but folks, what we're here to do today is to take a look at the proposal for a decision. You have been before an administrative law judge. I do have a question about your lack of testimony in that hearing that I'd like to ask if you guys will give me the opportunity. But what you're here to do today is to tell us if there is some kind of evidentiary or factual error in the record that we need to be considering as we analyze the proposal for decision that came from the administrative law judge. So my question for you, Ms. Reynosa, is you said you weren't given the opportunity to testify?
No, I was not.
Okay, can you elaborate on that for me, please, ma'am? Did your attorney?
I can't explain why he just told me not to testify. I only did what he said. I was on the call. I heard what everyone said. He was able to speak. Richard Makos spoke. He made very good points. I mean, this whole thing is stealing money. I never stole money. I can't steal money from my clients. The whole thing TREC said was best interest of the clients. I understand that. She can steal money from them. I'm not understanding how I'm going to steal money from my clients. We don't exchange money in our hands. It goes straight to title company. My whole thing is, I understand you're saying that decision's already done. What I'm saying is, maybe when you go back in next month and look at your criminal background that you guys are going to check out, you need to look at a person's age, their background, where'd they come from, what was their situation, how did they get there? Those,
Yes, ma'am.
all those things need to be taken into consideration because I'm being screwed here because of those facts. If you
I
look at my
understand that this
background, I'm
is-
not a woman who goes out and steals. I did what was best for my child at that time. I had to apply for Medicaid as a single mom because dad would not give me information. My daughter was sick. What was I going to do? I applied as my mistake is I applied as a single mom. That's what I'm being guilty here of, which people purposely do this. That was not my intention because in my right mind, I wasn't trying to steal from the state. I was thinking of my daughter. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have a job. He didn't have insurance. So I'm being accused of protecting my daughter. And when Sarah Decker first called me to told me that my license was being revoked, I broke down. I tried to talk to her and her words were, well, you were convicted of a crime. I said, no, ma'am, I was never convicted. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. And like I told her, in your mind, I'm already guilty. You have already convicted me before even hearing me out.
Okay. Mr. Makos, did you have anything else?
Yes, I do. You said that if there's any other factual errors, and this is the document that I sent that says she's not guilty. It was sent to Amber this morning. So this is one of the things that is a factual error, okay?
Me pleading guilty was to stay out of jail, but my probation officer clearly wrote a letter. Every time I need to apply for something, I actually got a life insurance license with this on my background, and I provided a letter saying, it says on there, Angelica Renzo is not guilty. She is in deferred adjudication. She is paying the money back. It is not a form of being guilty. And they gave me my life insurance license. TREC could have done the same thing.
Okay, and then here's the other thing I need to say regarding the cash, because this happened when we were on the trial and TREC kept asking questions about cash deals. Yeah, we do cash deals all the time. They kept insisting, whoever the person that was asking the question from TREC, insisting that we handle cash. And we told them, you know, on a cash deal, and I don't understand why the people from TREC don't understand this. It's not rocket science either. You know, cash deals, they go through the title company. It's all cash through the title company on a $200,000 house, and we don't handle it. But they kept insisting. We probably had 40 minutes of discussion on that topic with TREC.
Okay.
So there is no cash deals. Also, the other thing we told them, you know, it's in my broker policy manual. We do not do property management. That's where most of the lawsuits and stuff happens, or the people lose their license with TREC, is through property management. I've been doing this since 1980, you know, as a part owner of Keller Williams Real Estate here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know, and all this stuff happened with Angelica. This was before she ever was licensed. It happened from 2011, I think, to 2014.
All right. Commissioners, do any of you have any questions for Mr. Makos or Ms. Reynoso?
Commissioner
I
Turner,
do.
go ahead, Commissioner Rachel Stevens.
This question is for Ms. Reynoso. Ms. Reynoso, would you please inform us and just let us know, you've mentioned that you had a situation with your daughter, but the question is specifically, were you living with your husband at the time that this incident occurred?
He was not living in the house at the time. We were already separated. I had lost my job through Chase, who I'd been working for over a year. I was put on bed rest when I was 4 months pregnant. So I was on maternity leave. Then I had FMLA. And then the mistake was that Chase kept paying me for almost a year when I kept calling them and telling them, hey, you're still paying. What's my situation? I don't know what they were going through. I think a change of management. I don't know. Well, the reason I didn't qualify for Medicaid is because when Medicaid followed up and called Chase, Chase told them I was still working there when I never was. That's why I didn't qualify for the Medicaid. But no, my husband was not living in the house. Ex-husband now.
Did you show the proof to the administrative law judge that you were not employed with JP Morgan Chase at the time?
They never asked me. They never asked me any questions. The only thing that was looked at was paperwork from the actual court hearings. But I did have a choice to pay the 23,000 back, and I would have never had a felony record. I just didn't have 23 grand, but I am paying back. Every time I close the house, 5 grand goes to them. I'm waiting for them to tell me when they're going to be open because I'm fixing to pay it off. It's 15,000. I don't care if I'm going to be broke, but I can't live my life with a felony on my background because this is my lifestyle. I have a life insurance license. I used to have a realtor estate license, and I have a insurance agent's license as well. So I've got 3 licenses, now 2. I can't have this hanging over my head. So what I have in the bank is I'm going to get it. I'm going to pay it off, which is supposed to be a 5-year probation. And if I can pay it off sooner and talk to the judge that I will not do any volunteer work because I have 2 elderly parents, I cannot risk them as well. I'm going to ask that to be forgiven and getting it off my record.
Commissioner Kestner, did you have a question?
Yeah, I want to just clarify something. According to the documents, there was a guilty plea on October 7th, but then the court deferred adjudication of guilt, which basically means if she completes supervision with Community Supervision Department, that it will not be a felony conviction, and she's on supervision for 5 years. There was a order to pay $23,000 in restitution. Further in the notes, it says that still owes a little bit more than $20,000 in restitution.
That was before you guys got my balance.
Okay, so you were placed on supervision in July. I'm sorry, in October of 19. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
There is a plea of guilty, and it was a plea of guilty because that was the only way to stay out of jail. I didn't.
Right,
I had no choice there.
But then the court did grant deferred adjudication.
That is correct. And once I get it done, it'll be expunged from my record. And it's not going to be 5 years because I was told as long as I pay it off early, I can still get it expunged. Of course, I'm going to hire another lawyer. I might be another 20,000 in the hole, but hey.
Yeah, Angelica, what is your balance now? Because I know you've been paying it off double.
I think it's 15,000, maybe a little bit over, which I'm going to pay off as soon as the PO tells me they're open.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else?
And then just to follow up with Commissioner Stevens, your husband was not living in the home at the time, but you were receiving income from Chase, correct?
My ex-husband was not living in the home at the time, and yes, I was.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any commissioners?
I have a question. Go ahead.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes, you said that you were told that if you paid it off early, Angelica, that it would be removed. Do you have anything in writing?
I don't. Probation officer says I've got to get everything done, and then we write a letter to the judge.
Let me remind our commissioners that we are limited in our review today to what is in the record that was presented at the SOA hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner Leonard?
I have one problem. Mr. Makos, if you could, you said that you've received a letter from Ms. Reynosa's probation officer that she is innocent.
Yes, that's what it says. There's no finding of guilt at this time.
I've never heard of such a letter.
Guys, Commissioner Leonard, that letter was not in the record. It was not presented at the SOA hearing. We should not be considering it today.
Okay.
That's just the rules. It may seem unfair, but that's
very unfair.
And deferred adjudication is not an adjudication of guilt, so it wouldn't surprise me if somebody said that, if her probation officer said that she has not been found guilty. She pled guilty, she received deferred adjudication. If she completes the deferred adjudication, then she will not receive a felony on her record. It's no different than a traffic ticket and deferring that.
So why doesn't TREC take that into consideration? Check
TREC
your
would take
background,
that
see what's going on. Why? I don't understand.
Ms. Reynoso, TREC did take that into consideration, but more importantly, the administrative law judge took that into consideration.
We had to go there because TREC wouldn't work with me. We didn't have to go there. If you guys would just took into consideration my life, my situation, my background, hell, 51 years old and not a mark on my record, doesn't that count for something? Single mom, put one through college, still going for her master's by myself. Doesn't any of that count?
Ms.
You know, if I
Reynoso,
was a bad mom or a bad person, there's no way in hell a thief or someone who steals money is going to do that with their life and with their kids.
Ms. Reynoso, I understand that this is a very serious and emotional issue, but you're not going to help your case today by screaming at the commissioners. It's the administrative law judge made a decision in this case, and we're here to decide whether or not we want to adopt that decision. So this is not an opportunity to retry the case. This is not an opportunity to do anything other than consider that decision and whether or not there are factual or legal errors in that decision. So I appreciate your testimony. Does anybody else have any other questions for Mr. Makos or Ms. Reynoso? Mr. Malloy, would you like the opportunity to respond? I'm going to limit you to 2 minutes if you do.
Just briefly, all those factors that were required to take under consideration, like you stated, were taken in consideration by the judge. And this is the judge's determination. We're in the position where this is a serious felony, and we believe that the PFD should be adopted with that typographical change.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to pass the gavel back to Chair Kestner.
What would be the time frame that it would be taken? No one has ever told me that.
I'm sorry?
What is the time frame? When can I reapply? What is the? I mean,
right now, we are going to go into executive session immediately following this agenda item, and we're going to make a decision as to whether or not to adopt this proposal for decision in your case. After we make that decision, you'll receive correspondence from TREC, from our staff, that will provide you with all the applicable timelines on when you can file a motion for rehearing or when you can file an appeal to the Travis County District Court if that's what you choose to do. We'll provide you with all of that information. Is that correct, Mr. Malloy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and how will you send it to me?
We can CC
Malloy
you by regular mail and email.
Email.
So
Okay.
you can have it promptly.
Mr. Malloy, please ensure that Mr. Makos and the brokerage is included on that correspondence.
Yes, sir.
And that correspondence will also include, Ms. Reynoso, when you can, and Mr. Malloy, make sure that this also includes when she can reapply if we do adopt the PFD today, okay?
I will include that. I will, excuse me, I will include that in our letter, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. Thank you, Michael. And Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Makos. We appreciate you guys being here. We really do. And again, I know that this is emotional and it's a tough deal, and our job is not an easy one. But we'll give you all the due consideration. So, Chair Kestner, I think that concludes this agenda item.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I will now go to agenda item number 13, which is executive session. I show it is 10:47. We will be in executive session approximately 1 hour. I'm shooting for 45 minutes, but we're going to say 1 hour. So the commissioners will disconnect from this call. We'll go into executive session, and we should be back by 11:50 a.m. Central Time. We're going to executive.
Central Time. I'll apologize for running longer in executive, but I never want to limit questions and discussion from the commissioners and everybody participating. We're going to go back to agenda item number 12, the SOA cases, and I'm going to pass the gavel back to Commissioner Turner.
Okay, agenda, let me, am I off mute? Yep. Agenda item 12A, this is consideration and possible action regarding proposal for decision in the matter of SOA docket number 329200455, TREC versus Tiffany L. Purvis. Do I have a motion regarding the PFD in Ms. Purvis's case?
I will make a motion that we adopt the SOA decision in that case.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the PFD in the Ms. Purvis's matter as written. Any discussion? And how do we need to vote? Do we need to do a roll call or do we need to do ayes, Vanessa?
We can go ahead and do a roll call.
Just the one thing in discussion, Commissioner Turner, is I think there was ample opportunity and ample resources for this to be resolved prior to it getting to the point where it got to. And I think that is a very important part to look at. There are resources available to answer the questions that she said she was asking, couldn't get an answer.
Okay.
Amber,
Any other discussion?
Sure, I can do the roll call.
Okay.
Okay, Chair Kestner,
You're muted, Scott.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Hartgraves,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens,
Aye.
Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 12B, consideration and possible action regarding proposal for decision in the matter of SOA docket number 329201699, TREC versus Angelica Reynoso. I have a motion that I'm going to place on the floor and see if I have a second for. I do not think that the administrative law judge gave proper weight to mitigating factors in this case, specifically a lack of any other criminal record. The fact that Ms. Reynoso was provided with deferred adjudication from the court and was not convicted at the time when she was placed on deferred adjudication. There was also some indication in that there was some evidence of Ms. Reynoso's home situation when this period in her history occurred. I think this is a very serious offense, but I think the lack of any other criminal conduct, there wasn't a failure to report issue here. She is paying her restitution. The state's going to get paid back. The state's more likely to get paid back if she can continue to work. So I would move that we modify the proposal for decision, specifically conclusions of law 8 and 9. Modify conclusion of law 8 to say that respondent has established that she is fit to continue holding a real estate sales agent license despite her criminal history, and revise number 9 to say respondent's license should be suspended with such suspension probated until the completion of respondent's deferred adjudication in her criminal case. That's
I second the motion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Commissioner Turner, I've got some discussion.
Okay.
I'm going to speak against the motion for the simple fact that I think when the court gave her deferred adjudication, they gave it based on circumstances. I think this is a very serious offense. You fill out documents stating what your income is, and it was falsified. And with my background in the probation department, I realized deferred adjudication is not normally given in this. It wasn't when I was involved in the community supervision corrections department. She took could have been spent on somebody that did not have the income she had. And I know they regularly ask for updates as far as income and living conditions. I think it's a very serious offense. I am concerned about her making a living. She did say she had 2 other licenses. I just think as a commission, we send a bad message, because this is fraud. I mean, you know, she falsified, she said she didn't have the income, and I think her license should be revoked, perhaps reapply at the end of the supervision. She said she could pay all the restitution immediately once this case was resolved. I would be concerned maybe it should have been paid before it went to the ALJ if she had the money. So I'm going to speak against the motion. I know there were life circumstances, but I also know I think this is a very serious offense because she falsified her income for her benefit.
Thank you, Commissioner Kestner. Ms. Reynosa, I need you to please stop interrupting the commission with the chat. I'd like to go on the record just real quick. I understand that this is a highly stressful situation. This is your professional license. This impacts your ability to make a living. But frankly, neither yourself, Ms. Reynosa, nor Mr. Makos presented yourselves very well in front of this commission today. You behaved rudely. You've interrupted us and one another. You interrupted the chair now via use of the chat function on this commission meeting. And frankly, you're not doing yourself any favors right now. I've gone out on a limb to make the motion that I just did. And I almost wasn't inclined to do so because of your earlier behavior in the meeting, but I did it anyway because I know that this is an emotional issue for you. So if you could refrain from arguing via the chat function while we continue to debate this motion, I would appreciate it. Are there any other comments from commissioners?
Yes, I have a comment. I agree with our chair that it is a very, very serious offense. But as we all know on the commission, I'm in a very racially opinionated industry called construction in the state of Texas. So I understand that she's emotional because this is her livelihood. But we do know the challenges of being a minority trying to earn a living in Texas. I think that the commission should take that into consideration, but understand that we do have to follow the guidelines. So I think if we work with her, as long as she's willing to work with us, I think that she should have an opportunity to earn a living.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Any other commissioners have any discussion?
I'd like to make sure that I understand Scott's statement or his. Scott, I don't think you made a motion, but you may have. Would you restate what you said, Chairman Kestner, please?
Yes, let me. Yeah, I did not make a motion. I just spoke against the motion. And I'm referring to the testimony on page 79, where she said she did not report to the Texas Workforce Commission that she had an employed husband in the home. And she said he wasn't in the home, but then she said she had income from her employment from JP Morgan Chase. She told us during the open meeting earlier that she was not employed, but she was getting income. And it goes on to state that if the respondent would have reported this income, it would have not qualified her for the assistance. And that's what I'm basing it on, was the fact that she did not report the income she had. Thus, she was charged with the felony of theft less than 20,000, more than 20,000, but not exceeding 100,000. And that's what I'm basing it on. I know yes, to make a living. She said she had 2 other licenses, and but I mean, it's a serious offense. I'm sorry, but it is.
Thank you, Commissioner Kestner. Commissioner Miller, did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
And Commissioner Kestner, I agree. And if somebody wants, I mean, we can see if the motion carries, or somebody wants to amend the motion to simply suspend the license rather than probate that suspension. They could do that. But I think we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any other discussion? All right, hearing none, I'd ask Vanessa to have a roll call vote, please.
No problem. Commissioner Russell.
What would be the appropriate thing? To go with the motion? I'm confused on, would you explain?
Repeat the motion.
Absolutely. So my motion is to, and this is based on my opinion, that the administrative law judge did not appropriately weigh the mitigating factors in this case that we are asked to consider. And my motion would be to revise the proposal for decision so that conclusion of law number 8, instead of reading respondent has not established that she is fit to continue holding a real estate sales agent license despite her criminal history, to change that to respondent has established that she is fit to continue holding a real estate sales agent license despite her criminal history, and change finding of fact 9. Instead of saying respondent's license should be revoked, change that to respondent's license should be suspended, with such suspension probated until the completion of her deferred adjudication in the criminal case, which I think would necessarily include paying back that restitution.
So if I am not in favor of the motion, no would be appropriate.
That's correct. If you're not in favor of that, you would vote no. If you are in favor of it, you would say aye.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt briefly. Commissioner Turner, you also had a change to number 8 as well, right?
I did.
Okay.
I vote no.
Okay, Commissioner Leonard?
No.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
No.
Commissioner Miller?
No.
Commissioner Hartgraves?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams? Commissioner Williams, can you hear me?
Yes, I was on mute. Aye.
Commissioner Stevens?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Chair Kastner?
No.
Okay, motion fails. Do we have another motion? This would be the time for one of y'all that voted no to make your own motion. Either to modify the proposal for decision or to accept it as written.
I move we accept the decision as written by the SOA ALJ judge.
Okay, we have a motion to accept it as written. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Leonard. Any further discussion? Hearing none. If our general counsel would please have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Russell?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Hartgraves?
No.
Commissioner Williams?
No.
Commissioner Stevens?
Nay.
Commissioner Turner?
No.
And Chair Kastner?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Commission will accept the proposal for decision as written. I think this concludes agenda item 12. So, Commissioner Kestner, we'll hand the gavel back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Nobody said this job was going to be easy, and I want to thank everybody for their input, their passion, and what they give to this commission. I will go to agenda item number 14, the recovery fund. We have 4 cases pending, and General Counsel Vanessa Burgess will introduce all 4 cases.
Yep. I guess good afternoon. Today you have before you recovery fund cases. Number 1, recovery fund 20017, minor versus Neal. You have recovery fund 20020, Garza versus Ed Wiggins Realty LLC. Recovery Fund 21001, Ameriplex Realtors Incorporated versus Gregory Dicker and Jeffrey Dicker, and Recovery Fund 21002, Anna M. Salanti and Franklin C. Cook versus Charlene King.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Moved. Agenda item 14A, move to authorize a settlement payment of $39,578.94 in actual damages, court costs, and reasonable attorney's fees, plus 5% post-judgment interest in the amounts awarded in the judgment. On agenda item 14B, move to authorize a settlement payment of $20,467.49 in actual damages, court costs, and reasonable attorney's fees, plus 5% post-judgment interest. On agenda item 14C, move to authorize a settlement payment of $10,500 in reasonable attorney's fees plus 5% post-judgment interest. On agenda item 14D, move to authorize a settlement payment of $6,847.50 in actual damages, court costs, and reasonable attorney's fees plus 5.5% interest, post-judgment interest, subject to receipt of a writ returned nulla bona against the defendant.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Or let me go. Aye. All against. Any commissioners voting against the motion? Any commissioners abstaining from the motion? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner Leonard. And thank you, staff, for putting this together. We will move to agenda item 15, and I believe General Counsel Vanessa Burgess will take over the next several agenda items. Agenda item 15.
That's right. I'll be covering items 15 through 20. So agenda item 15 is discussion and possible action to adopt the repeal of 22 TAC 534.7 vendor protest procedures. This proposed repeal was published in the November 27th, 2020 issue of the Register. The repeal of 534.7 eliminates the agency's use of vendor protest procedures adopted by the Texas Facilities Commission. No comments were received, and the staff recommendation is to authorize staff on behalf of the commission to submit for adoption the repeal of 22 TAC 537.7 vendor protest procedures as published to the Texas Register, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for adoption.
Move that the commission approve our staff's recommendations.
Motion moved by Commissioner Leonard,
Second.
Second.
second by Commissioner Turner, I believe. Any opposed? Any commissioners abstaining? Motion carried. Agenda item 16.
Agenda item 16 is related. Discussion and possible action to adopt new 22 TAC 534.7 vendor protest procedures. The proposed new 534.7 was published in the November 27th issue of the Texas Register. The new 534.7 creates a new vendor protest procedures that better meet the agency's needs than the prior version. The new rule also more clearly establishes the agency's protest review and appeal process and identifies the roles and requirements of both TREC staff and the protesting party. No comments were received. Staff recommendation is that the commission authorize staff on behalf of the commission to submit for adoption new 22 TAC 534.7 vendor protest procedures as published to the Texas Register, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for adoption.
Chair would entertain a motion.
Move that the commission approve our staff's recommendation.
Motion made by Commissioner Leonard. Do I have a second?
Second.
I second.
Commissioner Stevens. Any commissioners opposed? Any commissioners abstaining? Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item 17.
Agenda item 17 is discussion and possible action to adopt amendments to 22 TAC 535.91, renewal of a real estate license. The amendment to 535.91 was published in the November 27th issue of the Texas Register and corrects a reference within the rule to include the appropriate subsection. No comments were received. Staff recommendation is to authorize staff on behalf of the commission to submit for adoption amendments to 22 TAC 535.91, renewal of a real estate license, as published to the Texas Register, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for adoption.
Chair would entertain a motion.
I move that the commission approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Stevens,
Second.
second by Commissioner Wilkinson. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any commissioners opposed to the motion? Any commissioners abstaining from the motion? Motion carries. Agenda item number 18.
Agenda item number 18 relates to the discussion and possible action to adopt amendments to 22 TAC 535.191, Schedule of Administrative Penalties. The amendments to 535.191 were published in the November 27th, 2020 issue of the Texas Register. And the amendment corrects a reference within the agency's schedule of administrative penalties that corresponds to statutory changes enacted by the 86th legislature and SB 624. No comments were received. Staff recommendation is to authorize staff on behalf of the commission to submit for adoption amendments to 22 TAC 535.191 as published to the Texas Register, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for adoption.
Okay, Chair would seek a motion.
Move that the commission approve staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Williams, second. Commissioner Leonard, is that correct?
Correct.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, any commissioners opposed to the motion? Any commissioners abstaining? Motion carries. Agenda item 19.
Agenda item number 19 is discussion and possible action to adopt amendments to 22 TAC 535.216, renewal of a license. The amendments to 535.216 were published in the November 27th, 2020 issue of the Texas Register. The amendments implement statutory changes enacted by the 83rd legislature, in House Bill 2911. The amendments were recommended by the Texas Real Estate Inspector Committee. No comments were received. The staff recommendation is to authorize staff on behalf of the commission to submit for adoption amendments to 22 TAC 535.216 as published to the Texas Register, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for adoption.
Chair would seek a motion.
Move that the commission approve our staff's recommendations.
Motion made by Commissioner Leonard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stevens. Any discussion?
I have a question. Is this only considered licensing for inspectors?
That is my understanding.
Yes,
General
that's right.
It doesn't say that, so I just wondered.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any commissioners opposed to the motion? Any commissioners abstaining? Motion carries. Agenda item number 20.
Agenda item number 20 is discussion and possible action to adopt amendments to 22 TAC Chapter 537 as follows. 537.45, Standard Contract Form number 38-6, which is the Notice of Buyer's Termination of Contract, and 537.52, Standard Contract Form 45-1, Short Sale Addendum. The amendments to the 22 TAC Chapter 537 were published in the December 11th, 2020 issue of the Register, and the proposed changes replace references to paragraph 23 with references to paragraph 5 to align with the previous changes made to the contract forms. No comments were received, and the staff recommendation is to authorize staff on behalf of the Commission to submit for adoption amendments to 22 TAC Chapter 537 and the forms adopted by reference as published to the Texas Register, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for adoption. The revised forms, which are adopted by reference in 537.45 and 537.52, would be adopted for voluntary use until April 1st, 2021, at which time their use will become mandatory.
Move that I move staff recommendation.
Okay, I believe that was Commissioner Miller. I'm not positive.
Russell.
Second.
Russell, okay. Second by Leonard. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any commissioners opposed? Any commissioners abstaining? Motion carries. Okay. Thank you. We will now move to agenda item 21, and that will be Deputy General Counsel Abby Lee.
Good afternoon. Agenda item 21 is discussion and possible action to propose new 22 TAC 533.50 petition for adoption of rules. The proposed new rule 533.50 implements a statutory requirement that state agencies must prescribe by rule the form for a petition for adoption of rules and the procedure for its submission, consideration, and disposition. The proposed new rule is recommended by the Executive Committee. The staff recommendation is to authorize staff on behalf of the Commission to submit the proposed new 22 TAC 533.50 petition for adoption of rules as presented, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for proposal to the Texas Register for publication and public comment.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Move that the commission approve staff's recommendation.
Okay,
Second.
motion made by Commissioner Leonard, second by
Russell.
Commissioner Russell. I think there is some discussion on this. It's my understanding that these rules can be submitted, but ultimately it would go before the staff and the commission prior to the adoption, posting, and whatever, correct?
That's correct. It would go through the same process. It's just sort of a trigger to get that process started if someone has a specific request.
Okay. Other discussion on this?
I had a question. Will it still then go to broker lawyer, or does it have anything to do with broker lawyer? I could just see that it would relate to them.
So this is for rule or ultimate rule adoption, not form changes or comments. So if someone had, for instance, a rule that impacted inspectors, let's say, then they could go through this process. And then ultimately the chair in consultation with staff would review that request and then either, deny the petition like the proposed language says, or initiate rulemaking proceeding within the time prescribed. And so that could be, giving it to the inspector committee as the appropriate advisory committee to review that. But this is more rule-based. It's not dealing with form comments or form changes. That would continue to be done the current way, which is to submit suggestions to that general counsel email.
Thank you.
All right.
I have a question, Mr. Chair, if I may, to
Yes.
Abby Lee. Abby, would you please clarify if somebody, I think that this is a great opportunity for anyone to present rules, but I think that the commission needs, how will we inform the commission? What would be the process? Does it go through, what would be the channels that we are designating right now for the commission to be able to review this and so that we know, because a lot of the things that the commission examines and then votes on later on that are proposed come through committees that are through the commission, and they are viewed and read prior to. So what would be the channel that this is being recommended?
That's a great question. And really, I think it's the same process that you're accustomed to. Again, this is just providing a formal mechanism for someone to actually propose a specific change or a new rule or a repeal of a rule. So again, the process outlined in the proposed language is that, we get one of these requests, we get this petition, and then ultimately the chair sits down with staff and determines, is this something, A, we can even do? If not, that would be a possibility to deny it outright. But if it is something, then we would initiate the rulemaking procedure. So that would be the same as what you're used to. It's either going to come to you directly, maybe through executive committee first or something like that, or it's going to go to an advisory committee like ESAC or the inspector committee. So it shouldn't be a change from your normal process in that regard.
Thank you.
This simply just adds a formal process for a member of the public to request a change. So it's an additional tool. It doesn't take anything away.
I think that's a great idea. I just wanted to make sure how the commission would be informed and the process. Thank you very much.
Okay, great discussion. Any other discussion? Any commissioners opposed to this motion? Any commissioners abstaining from this motion? Motion carries. We will go to agenda item number 22. Again, Deputy General Counsel Abby Lee.
Agenda item 22 is discussion and possible action to propose amendments to 22 TAC 535.220 professional conduct and ethics. The proposed amendment adds that the consent an inspector already must receive from the inspector's client to receive a fee or other valuable consideration for referring services that are not settlement services or other products to the client must be in writing. The Texas Real Estate Inspector Committee recommends this proposed amendment. And the staff recommendation is to authorize staff on behalf of the commission to submit the proposed amendment to 22 TAC 535.220 professional conduct and ethics as presented, along with any technical or non-substantive changes required for proposal to the Texas Register for publication and public comment.
Any discussion? Commissioner Williams.
Move that the commission approve staff's recommendation.
Okay. Thank y'all for the motion and the second. Now let's go to discussion. Commissioner Williams made the motion. Leonard was second. Hearing no discussion. Any commissioners opposed? Hearing none. Any commissioners abstaining? Hearing none. Motion carries. Thank you, Abby Lee. We will go to agenda item 23, old business. Deputy Executive Director Tony Slagle will update us regarding the 87th legislative session. And Tony, thank you for the email you sent with the bills you're tracking, but it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Tony Slagle, Deputy Executive Director. As the Executive Director mentioned earlier, this has been a very strange session for us. We haven't been able to do some of the things we normally would be able to do in terms of going over to the Capitol and addressing some issues. I did submit or send a report over to you guys that it's lengthy. This is, at the time, was all of the bills that we were tracking. There are only a few that directly impact the agency and the agency statutes. I would just like to address a couple of them. The ERW agent eminent domain bills, there are two, for lack of a better term, competing bills there, HB 901 and HB 902. One of them has provisions that specifically address an education requirement for those certification types. It's likely whichever bill is the vehicle for this legislation going forward will include that. So we're likely going to have some expanded role moving forward on those if these bills do move forward and are passed. You know, there's some other things in here. There's, you know, bills dealing with sole disclosure or updates to the contract forms. Those will likely, if they move forward, would go to broker lawyer, and then broker lawyer would figure out how to implement those to the best of their ability. Most of the other bills are very general occupation licensing bills that impact the agency, but not specifically the agency. They impact all occupational licensing agencies. There is one bill I'll point, make you aware of if you haven't seen it on the list, that impacts governor appointees, just so that you're aware of it. It is, oops, sorry, I just passed it, HB 106, and it talks about, it puts limitations on the amount of political contributions appointees can make. So I just want you to be aware of that, because that would impact you in some way should it go forward. We have reached out to a couple of legislators dealing with our legislative priorities. Not a whole lot of movement. We knew going into this session that there might not be a whole lot of bandwidth to take on some of those issues. So as the executive director mentioned earlier, it's not anything that if it doesn't go forward this session, we couldn't address next session. It's not going to impact the agency's ability to do anything moving forward. It's just there's some cleanup things that we've been looking forward to amend and fix over the last couple of sessions, and this we thought we could move forward on this session. This is obviously prior to the pandemic and everything else. I did want to update you on one bill that was filed this week that relates to a governmental body's ability to hold a telephone or video conference call. It amends that section of the government code to make it significantly, it broadens it, it makes it significantly easier for the commission to meet, or any governmental body, but the commission to meet via teleconference. That is HB 1888. I will send you guys an updated list, likely in the next couple of days, beginning of next week, with that bill on it. But should that go forward, that will give the commission expanded ability to meet remotely, which I think is likely a good thing. So again, sorry for the rambling, but I'm happy to address any questions you have specifically on the report.
Any questions about the bills we're tracking?
It looks like Commissioner Russell has a question, and as she's unmuting, Tony, if you wouldn't mind, please sending that report again to Commissioner Hargraves. He doesn't believe he's received anything from you.
Okay, yes, I will.
Commissioner Russell.
Yes, I wanted to address, and I'm not sure exactly how, but Senate Bill 461 by co-course. I don't know how we would object, but reading about the regarding the seller of property of less than 15 acres, when it comes to the second paragraph, the bill provides that if a seller fails to provide notice and flooding occurs before the 5th anniversary of the purchase date, the buyer can recover damages. Can we do something to not make that seller liable for 5 years and yet address the needs of the buyer? That's a concern that the sellers on the
on the hook for 5 years?
Well,
It's just a concern.
I understand that, Commissioner Russell. I think there need to be some consideration about what our role as a commission would be for this type of bill, since it is a seller's disclosure and we do promulgate that disclosure form. It's really outside of our purview to police that, because we just promulgate the form. It's the seller's obligation to provide that form. So we don't have any regulatory authority over the actual seller. I think that might be something you might want to address to the association. They may be able to weigh in on that. But in terms of the commission, we can raise that concern. I just don't know how much impact we would have, since that particular issue is outside of our authority as an agency.
Okay, I wasn't sure, but I the intent is good because we want the buyer to know. But you're correct. I will address that to the Texas Realtors. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the bills. I appreciate having them to look at.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, but we want to make sure you're looking at everything we're following, including the HR bills and all of that stuff, just for transparency. And I'm happy, outside of this meeting, always happy to answer any questions you have about any of the things that I send you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Deputy Executive Director Tony Slagle? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will move to agenda item 24, Deputy General Counsel Abby Lee, regarding recovery fund.
Yes, agenda item 24 is discussion and possible action regarding denying claims made to the Real Estate Recovery Trust Account and the Real Estate Inspection Recovery Fund. So under the current process, if the commission staff receives a recovery fund claim that does not satisfy the statutory requirements provided in the Real Estate License Act, specifically either Chapter 1101 for the Texas Occupations Code for the Real Estate License Act, or if we're dealing with the inspector fund, it's Chapter 1102, staff will send the claimant a denial letter. The commission does not formally vote or rule on these denials at their quarterly meetings. After consultation with the executive committee and in furtherance of that transparency that the chair was speaking of earlier, staff has developed the attached policy for approval in order to formalize this process. One thing to note, in our discussion with the executive committee, it was limited to the Real Estate Recovery Trust Account. However, because we feel the same process should apply to both funds, including the Inspector Recovery Fund, staff recommends that this policy apply to that fund as well. The staff recommendation is to adopt the policy regarding the Real Estate Recovery Trust Account and Real Estate Inspection Recovery Fund as presented.
Okay, I would seek a motion.
Move that the commission approve the staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, discussion on this. Hearing none. Commissioner Stevens, did you have discussion?
No, Chairman Kessler, thank you.
Okay, hearing none. Any commissioners opposed? Any commissioners abstaining? Motion carries. Thank y'all for this. This is really going to add to the transparency, and I thank y'all staff for bringing this. Okay, agenda item 25, Chief Financial Officer Renata Williams.
Good afternoon. Agenda item 25 is discussion regarding the FY21 budget amendment. So in accordance with the 2021 TREC budget and investment policy section 1.05A, staff is proposing an amendment to the approved fiscal year 2021 budget to reflect the actual beginning balance for the fiscal year instead of the projected beginning balance. Staff recommendation is that Commission moves to adopt the 2021 budget amendment as presented.
I move that. Yeah, I'll do the motion. I move that the commission approve staff recommendation.
Commissioner motion.
I second. Stevens.
Commissioner Stevens is second. Discussion. Hearing none, any commissioners opposed? Any commissioners abstaining? Motion carries. We will go to agenda item number 26. This is discussion and possible action regarding performance review and salary of TREC Executive Commissioner, TREC Executive Director, Chelsea Buckholtz. I will start the discussion by just kind of informing everybody that this is about the 1 year anniversary of Executive Director Buckholtz starting. We did an evaluation 6 months in. We just did another evaluation last month. Included all the commissioners, all the board members. We also had staff also complete evaluations. I think it was a very thorough evaluation. We had a lot of input from not only the commissioners, but the board members. And I want to thank the board members for also participating in this and thanking staff. I'm going to open it up for the other commissioners to give me your thoughts on the evaluation, and I will either do a roll call or you can just pop in when you want to. Okay, let's start with Commissioner Leonard.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Chelsea, I just want to say thank you for a terrific year. In my opinion, you've done a terrific job for us. I'm most impressed with your ability to shift gears when the virus kind of hit and we had to go from doing everything in person to doing everything from home virtually. That seemed to be a seamless transition. I want to also applaud you for your ability to position a new staff. We've got some terrific people. And for me, I've been here for some time now. This is the first time I have felt very comfortable allowing you and your staff to do your job with minimal interference from us, other than the general direction I think that you are looking for. So terrific job, and that's all I have, Chairman. Oh, sorry, I want to add, I look forward to the one thing that you have missed is not of your choosing, but your ability to get out and meet with all of our stakeholders. And I really look forward to doing that because I think you will impress them as much as you have impressed all of us. I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate your kind words.
Commissioner Hargraves.
Yeah, I would second that. I've been real impressed with what I've seen so far, and very confident in your leadership that we've seen. So please keep up the good work, and I think that everybody I've talked to pretty much feels the same way in terms of staff and members of the public. I think there's a lot of confidence in the agency right now.
Okay. Commissioner Russell.
Ditto. I especially appreciate how accessible you are and the way you just hit the ground running under difficult circumstances. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Turner.
Thank you, Commissioner Kessner. Chelsea, you're doing a fabulous job. Thank you. You've made some great hires. I was particularly impressed with what your staff had to say about you. And I think it's been a great idea to incorporate staff reviews as part of your performance review. I think we still got some work to do. We can still work on communication, both with the commissioners and with our other stakeholders. I'd like to see TREC in the future invest some time in sharing with our licensees exactly what it is we do, and making sure that those folks are educated. And you've mentioned this before. I'd like to see us work some more too on turning around background checks for applicants. I think that's one spot that you've noted that I think is astute for you to note that we could still do some work. But really, you jumped in an exceedingly difficult time and you've exceeded expectations. I think you've done a fabulous job. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Let me unmute. I agree with every comment that has been made. If I had a check off, it would be leadership, communication, delegation, meeting challenges, adaptability, flexibility, and great history. All of the above. You're just fabulous. Thank you for being here at the right time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes, doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate very much the leadership in making sure that we complied with the Sunset Commission review, and that was very important for us as an agency, and we were able to achieve that. Also, even though you are not able to travel, when stakeholders have expressed interest or questions, I know that you've gotten on the phone and you have been able to reach out to them, and I think it's a very important part of public service, and it is very I think that morale overall is fantastic in the staff and in the people that you're able to hire and retain, and I think that is very important because your enthusiasm and your passion and what you're doing, it trickles down and it's part of the culture that we were so looking and we strive to get there. And I know that we've got a long ways to go, and I'm very pleased to know that you have higher goals and that we are in it, and that I'm able to see this. And thank you and all the best.
Commissioner Miller.
I'm just wondering if Chelsea's head is about to explode with so many good comments. Chelsea, you're doing a fantastic job, and I'm so proud of the way you've hired and that you've kept your staff content, happy in most cases, and what a heck of a year you've done this through. So thank you, and please keep up the good work.
Commissioner Williams.
Wow. Needless to say, Chelsea, you made a comment about really appreciating the opportunity to be there. And that's so important. I came from a sports background many, many years ago and a lot less weight than I have now. We used to always say, I can't believe that they're paying me for the work that I'm doing. And I feel that every time I'm speaking with you, you take a leadership. And the thing that impressed me most about you, Chelsea, is you're not afraid to hire people around you that are really good at what they do. And just looking at and working with Mrs. Williams showed me that personally. And I know throughout the whole commission, everyone feels the same. But needless to say, when you're the quarterback in that position within the TREC is the quarterback, you're going to get all the glory, but you're also going to get all the blame. So keep being innovative, make the commission a fun place to be, and just keep hiring people that's going to make it's not an easy job, but keep hiring people that's going to make your job easier. And you'll get our support all the way throughout.
All right. Well, I guess I need to say something to make your head shrink a little bit. Chelsea, I said this in executive. Our preacher told us once, said, if you're out for a walk and you're leading people who are following, if nobody's behind you, you're not leading, you're just out for a walk. And everybody said what a great job you've done hiring staff, and you have done an incredible job hiring staff. What I see from my point of view is you've taken the existing staff and you have delegated and empowered them to do the job. And and they have turned the agency around, just done an incredible job on that. I remember one conversation we had, I was like, what's it going to be like when we have someone sitting there waiting to answer the phone live? And you said, we might be overstaffed. That's why we need to cross-train people. And I think that's the vision we need, that you're not just going to get us to the point where we need to be. You're going to get us to the point to where we should be. And I just appreciate everything you've done. And again, we've talked about, things pop up that we don't know about, should have been fixed, could be fixed, and will be fixed. And I love the way you handle that. You just don't pass the buck. You say, this is something we need to work on, and we will work on it. So I think job well done. Job well done. Anything else on this, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, if you're okay, I'd like to just say a few things, and that is, I tell our staff all the time that your job is as good as your boss, and I think that that's true, and that it's certainly true for me. I am grateful for each of you and the direction you provide, and our success, my success, is really the success of 135 other people who are working very hard, who don't have the public opportunity to receive such compliments. But I'm very grateful for your kind words. All of that, those positive words are because of the staff that we have and the good work that they're doing. So I appreciate each of you and your and sharing your thoughts today. I promise not to get a big head. My family will be home soon, and they will make sure I come down quickly.
Chair Kessner.
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
I move that we provide the executive director with a 3% cost of living increase in her salary.
And I second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Turner, a second by Commissioner Stevens. Discussion on this?
Yes, I'd like to comment. This Commissioner Williams, I think that 3% is warranted, but because of the pandemic, that I'd like to make a motion to make it 2%.
Okay, we have a motion to amend. All right, parliamentary procedures. Do I need a second, or can the original motion Commissioner Turner made, can it be accepted as a friendly amendment to the motion? Or do we need to have a second and vote on it separately?
You have a motion and a second. I think you need to vote on that motion.
No.
Unless you want to, are you saying you want to amend the motion?
Commissioner Williams, is that what your intent was, to amend the motion?
Yes.
Then that would need a second, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Good.
All right, so I have a motion to amend it to 2% and a second. I believe that was Commissioner Russell, correct?
And I will interject that I need an effective date.
Oh, okay.
An effective date, I would say immediately, if they take the 2%.
Is that enough of an effective date?
I think in terms of payroll processing, maybe the March 1st works the most smoothly, but you guys are welcome to do it however you want to do it.
Okay, is March 1st?
March 1st.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to do a pay increase of 3% cost of living beginning March 1st. We have a motion to amend the original motion at 2% beginning March 1st. That also has a second. We need to vote on the motion to amend first, and then the main motion. Is that correct?
I'm gonna look at TJ and Vanessa for a little bit of help on this, but I wish I were better at Robert's rules, but isn't it true that the person who makes the motion needs to accept the amendment, or is it a vote?
No.
It's not.
I
Okay.
believe I believe it's a vote, and I don't remember hearing a second on Commissioner Williams' amendment.
I thought Commissioner Russell did.
Yes.
Did we? I'm sorry.
I am as well.
Okay. I'm almost sure we need to vote on the amended motion first.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. We're voting on the amended motion for a cost of living increase of 2% beginning March 1st. Okay. And Amber, can I have you do a roll call?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. Okay, Chair Kestner,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard,
No.
Commissioner Turner,
No.
Commissioner Hartgraves,
No.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens,
No.
Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
No.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
We have 5 noes.
I'm sorry, come back.
5 voted no
Okay.
to the amended motion.
The amended motion fails. We will now go back to the original motion of 3% beginning March 1st, 2021. And Amber, if you would roll call again.
Sure. Chair Kestner,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Hartgraves,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens,
Aye.
Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Okay. Motion carries. Anything else? I think that, yes.
I think that because the date that was requested was only covered for the adopted motion, I think at this point, since TJ is the one who made the motion, perhaps you may want to just make sure that we add that the beginning date.
Yeah, that's correct. So I think the motion, I would modify my original motion or accept the amendment suggested by council that the motion be for a 3% pay increase effective March 1.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Let's have a motion and a second to amend it to March 1st, still leaving it 3%. Since it was unanimous, I'm going to just do any commissioners opposed? Hearing none. Any commissioners abstaining? Hearing none, motion carries. No matter what they said, we got the sausage made. So congratulations. Okay. Anything else on the evaluation? Okay, we will go to agenda item 27. Changes in the fitness determination. Director of Enforcement Michael Malloy will present.
Hello. This is discussion and possible action to approve changes to TREC form FD1, the fitness determination form. The amendment of this form is recommended by staff in order to combine the fitness determination form and the background history form. Currently, a person that requests fitness determination has to provide both forms. And occasionally a person that submits this does not submit the background history form as with their fitness determination. So this causes delays with staff because we cannot start reviewing these fitness determinations without both of them, and combining these both we feel will better streamline the process when submitting this type of request. The recommendation is to approve these changes. I'm going to actually show the form and share it to just give a brief explanation of what's actually going to happen and change. Just bear with me for 1 second. Okay. So this is the one that's submitted for adoption and change. Essentially, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. The fitness determination form currently asks all the questions up to question 15 that's on the proposed form. The big difference is under the questions from 10 through 14, they state in the current form to submit the background history form. We've essentially put those background history form sections in this draft, and that's what represents everything from 16 all the way down to through 21. So basically, the person that submits the fitness determination, they will only need to submit this one form, and they may need to submit additional documentation if they have multiple offenses, but at least we will be able to start the process of reviewing their fitness determinations, hopefully in a more streamlined process with this amendment.
Chairman Kestner?
Yes,
I move
Commissioner.
that the commission approve staff's recommendation.
I got a motion from Commissioner Stevens, a second from Commissioner Leonard. Any discussion?
No, I will just say I believe this is long overdue and a terrific move.
I agree. I've got one question. I know this is just a draft. Is there a numbering issue on page 3 of 4?
We did catch that, and the draft I just shared has the corrected thing. There was a numbering issue. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Any further discussion?
Just a comment, Chairman Kestner, Chairman Kestner, that I applaud the staff coming up with proactive ideas on preventing delays in processing. Thank you.
Agree. Again, this is moving forward. All right. Any commissioners opposed to this motion? Any commissioners abstaining? Yes, Commissioner Miller.
I would like to go even further to add to our application process that when a John Doe off the street decides he wants a real estate license, to include in bold or something that says, if you've got anything, even stuff that was done as a juvenile, that let them know that FBI is going to find it. And even though they think the records are sealed, so that there is not this delay. We have so many people. I think I saw a stat at some point about 20% of the applicants have to have background checks, and that's a shame, number one. But if they don't admit it up front, then they haven't filled out any of this stuff, and that's a problem. So we've got to correct language or something to get the message across.
Very good point. Other discussion? Any commissioners opposed? Any commissioners abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Agenda item 28, discussion of future agenda items. I think we've talked about enforcement workshop. Anything else y'all would like to see on the agenda?
Chairman Kestner, I don't have an agenda item, but I do have, if you'll allow me just to make a quick comment.
Yes.
And I apologize. I know we're trying to get done. I just want to make an observation. I think for the first several years I served on this commission, most of the votes we had were unanimous. There was very little discussion of topics. There was very little dissension. There was very little disagreement. And I am proud of how this commission is handling itself these days. I think that disagreement is a sign that people are invested and aware of what's going on and have done enough background work to have an opinion. So we had a few close votes today, and I really appreciate that. And I applaud you all for investing the time and the interest in this job as you should, to form opinions and to not be afraid to vote against some of your fellow commissioners. I think it's a sign of a healthy board. So I just wanted to say that I'm appreciate that, guys.
Commissioner Turner, if I might just add, I agree. And I think it's a result of having a more engaged commission than we had a few years ago, which I appreciate.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Turner, I totally agree too. And I think when we have discussions and we have votes like that, it shows that everybody is engaged. I think it also shows that everybody's working toward moving this agency forward. And yeah, I totally agree with your statements. And I appreciate the engagement everybody is acting on. We can disagree without being disagreeable, and that's not always easy to find in this world. So, thank you for pointing that out. Anything else? Let's go to agenda item 29.
Future agenda item, we should have review of criminal history following the enforcement committee. That's probably already on there, but that's the only future agenda item I have.
Yeah, and when I'm on enforcement, I think that background checks, I think everything. Yes, thank you. Okay, agenda item 29, discussion possible action for scheduled meetings. We have the next scheduled meeting is February, I'm sorry. We've been trying to meet 3 times in February. May the 3rd and May the 4th. And May the 3rd is the commission meeting, and the workshop I had penciled in, actually it's in ink, enforcement, and for a workshop. Any other ideas? All right. Hearing none, I would take it. Go ahead.
Chairman, I want to make one comment. We've made some comments about our commission being able to be have different views and opinions. And Chelsea said something earlier about the people that she's put around her. She put strong people around her, and I made a comment that she allows them to do their job. I want to make a comment and commend you on being a really good chairperson, because you've given us the freedom of voice that I don't believe that we had when I first started. So I just appreciate what you bring to this commission, and definitely here to follow your leadership.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And Chelsea, Vanessa, what, 10 minutes? How long a break do we want before we start the budget?
That's up to you, yeah.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Move that we adjourn.
Okay, made by Commissioner Leonard. Who wants the second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Williams. I know somebody else was about to hear you. All right, we're adjourning at 1:27 p.m. Thank y'all all for attending. Get your CE classes in. I think it counts for a full 4 hours or whatever. So get your certificates in, and I'll see some of y'all in about 5 minutes.
Oh, is there another number to dial in?